Hello, I am Gia Bảo, and today I'll talk about technology and how it has changed our lives permanently. Now, we're going to look at the table of contents. The first thing on it is my introduction. You're going to learn about me in this one. The second one is the benefits of technology, and the third one is the drawbacks of technology itself. The fourth one is conclusion, the end to all PowerPoints. Now, let's move on to the introduction. I'm a cool guy. Now, I come from an amazing class. That class is class 991. I also have some common hobbies that I think you can relate to, such as learning English. If you look at this, I'm sure you love English. I also made this little pie chart for other hobbies I have that you might relate to, such as learning history. Now that takes up around 21% of my time, as it is, I like it, but it's not that convenient. Next one is sleeping. Now sleeping takes around 32% of my time. Sleeping is very important, and I think I should cherish it. And then we have reading books. Now I love reading books, it's a passion of mine, so I gave it a 34%, and I value it over sleep. Finally, we have eating. Now eating takes up 30% of the time, as I don't care about it much, but I do love it regardless. And then let's move on to the benefits of technology. Now, as it is quite glaring and abundant, I'll split it into three categories. The first one is the minor one. Things such as fans, air conditioners, and more are belonging to this one. The second one is the major one. The major ones, well, cars, automatic farms, and tractors belong to this category. And then we have practical ones. Practical ones, most of the time, are things like phones, computers, the internet, and so forth. And they are a very, very important category here. Now, let's move on to the next one. The next one is talking about the minor and the major changes of technology. Those are quite close stated, so I put it into one. Now, for the minor changes. The minor changes are, well, mostly for pleasure and greed of it and comfort. The major ones, though, is quite the opposite. It plays such a major part in life that life would be quite different without them. They are made from hope of helping humanity succeed. Then we have the very special part, the practical changes. Now the practical changes include things like phones and computers, so it's very important in people's lives. And sometimes, just sometimes, people will feel crippled without them, and I do agree. I do feel crippled without things in these practical categories. Now, next one. The drawbacks of technology. Well, technology is quite interesting. Now, I'll share you. The reason why it's neglected is, well, these three things. The convenience. Now, the convenience is this little blue-purple orb here because, well, it's a great part of technology and everyone knows it is. Then we have this little blue orb here, the feasibility. Now, the easiness of understanding its abilities and its benefits are, well, abundant, and most people can, even a toddler can, so yes, I believe so. Then there's the profitability. This blue, this little white orb here is the profitability. Now, it is portrayed by the media to be extremely profitable, and well, I do believe that too, but we'll talk about that later on. Then there's this little pot, this grey and black little pot here is the drawback. Now the drawbacks, they're unnoticed because they are overshadowed by these three big orbs, and we're going to talk about it now. There are drawbacks. Now, for the drawbacks, one of them is allowing work to bleed into personal life. The convenience is backfiring quite heavily. And then we have a warped sense of rest. This warped sense of rest is changing how people rest most of the time. And then we have the final part, a part that goes unnoticed many times, although it's extremely dangerous. It is the not paying back well for its investment. Many projects fail to meet its expectations. We're going to talk about the allowing working to bleed into personal life part first. Now, first thing first, going home. Now, going home, before, right? You go home, you have this certain amount of time you're sure to spend for yourself, and you know what to do with it. Now, because of the convenience, work can be sent home under many circumstances actually, so you don't know when work will come and you don't know how much time you have with yourself, and that increases the worries. Then now we have vacations. It is related to this one, by the way, because not on vacation, you run away. You go on a dreamland of your own time. But with that, no, it will invade that free time sometimes, of course. It's rather than going home, but still you have to worry about it sometimes. And, well, that's now the main part of this one. Technology failing itself. Normally, it was made, originally, right? It was made to, well, allow people to have less stress, less worries. But look at this. Here and here, you know that it didn't do its job quite well, and it's doing the absolute opposite of that. And now we're going to talk about the warped sense of rest. Originally, resting is, well, of course, spending time for yourself and healing your, yourself, such like this right here. You heal yourself, you heal your mental health and physical health. But now, currently, right, it's time for social media and the destruction of your mind and body. As well, this invades every single aspect of your private life. So, it takes up time for you to actually rest your mind and body, and so it does the opposite thing, it destroys it. So now we're going to talk about the very important part, the not paying well for its investment. It's a particular one I'd love to talk about now. As I said before, many projects fail to meet expectations. Why? Well, they normally cost way too much, or they don't refund correctly. As with windmills, sometimes, right? As you've known, they are created to make fresh electricity from wind, but that wind generation would take around 100 years or more to pay for one singular turbine, which of course costs way too much and doesn't refund correctly. And then we have this. It ends up getting abandoned halfway through. Sometimes projects are just too hard and they can't invest any more money and time into it, so they just drop it dead on the ground. They can't salvage it in any way, as it is not practical if it's half done. So they waste time, money and effort on it. And then we have the final one. It doesn't work properly in normal conditions because most of them are tested in lab environments. That means it's very controlled. And sometimes when they get into natural environments, they just collapse and not work correctly most of the time. And finally, the conclusion. The conclusion I got was technology changes do have a benefit that affect human lives, but I do think that the drawbacks just outweigh those on a great scale. This is a quote from the scientist Albert Einstein. It has become appallingly obvious that technology exceeded our humanity. Now, what that means is he knew that at some point technology is going to take over, and we're not going to be controlling it, but it's going to be controlling us. This was said by him a few decades ago, and now it is the end. Thank you for listening and looking at my presentation, and I hope to see you again if I get the chance to.
MIS, đa trí tuệ, một nhân cách.